All right, we're going to go through some steps for you to create assignment number, I think it's number 4, the maze that you're going to create. Now, um, uh, the maze is samples right here. Here are some samples of them. Now, the color's not coming through and that kind of stuff, but you can kind of see what we're talking about. We're trying to create a maze where you start somewhere, follow a path, and there'll be some requirements along the way as to how you get it and what kind of format you have to have. Um, but you can come back here and look at any of these samples that you want. Um, One of the things that you have to do is you have to have a theme for your maze. Um, you can do that by color, of which you can't see here, but you can say this is the Jurassic Park maze, and you can see here that there are pictures that refer to Jurassic Park. And remember, not all these samples are good samples. Here's the softball maze, and all their pictures have to do with softball things and stuff like that. There's any topic that you want. Um, and so once you pick a theme, your formatting should help you present your theme. Okay. Um, so let's just kind of walk through some of these steps here. And again, you can pause this video whenever you want, skip steps, whatever you think you want to do. Step number 2, change the orientation of your paper to landscape. So on your Word document, you just come up here to the Layout tab. Here's orientation, and you change it to landscape. This will give you a better kind of space-wise using your document to get the best maze that you can. Step number 3, change the margins top, bottom, left, and right to 0.5. So that'll be done again on the Layout tab. Here's margins over here. There we go. Narrow would probably give you the best. There's a top, bottom, left, and right of 0.5, so we'll pick that. Step number 4, you need to type a title for your maze, and this should somehow reflect your theme, and then format it by doing any and all of these things that you think need to be done. I don't really know the theme of my maze. If you know the theme of your maze, type it in. I'm just going to type title goes here, and that way I can always come back and I can change it, and then you have to do all the formatting. I'm not going to do a bunch of formatting on this. Um, Centering it would be a good thing, making it larger would be a big thing, bolding it would be a good thing, and then you can get after the color. Don't forget that when you're done, make sure your cursor goes back to the left margin before you move on with the next step in the table. Step number 5, you're going to insert a table that is 20 rows by 20 columns. It can be more than that, but not less. Make the cells as big or as small as you want, but be careful. You don't want the table to go beyond the first page. Once you start formatting your table, then the table gets bigger. So if you make this table really close to the bottom margin to begin with, you're going to end up a little bit struggling to try to keep it on one page because you cannot have a 2-page maze. You can use that little white handle in the corner to make the table bigger, and then just make sure all rows and columns are the same size. So if I'm here on my document, I'm going to insert a table, and 20 by 20, I'm not going to mess with this grid. I'm going to go right to insert table, and I'm going to put down that I want 20 columns and 20 rows, and I'm going to throw it in there like that. Okay. And so you can see right now that this table pretty much runs from the left margin to the right margin. Okay. And not all the way to the bottom. But if I run this thing using that little white square all the way to the bottom, and then I start putting pictures in and formatting, I'm probably going to get a 2-page maze, and I don't want that. So I'm actually going to make my table come in a little bit on the right hand side like that. So that way, when I start to format, I have space for my table to actually go. And then I will actually kind of bring it the bottom edge down just a little bit, but I'm not going to use the entire width of my paper nor the length of my paper. That way, when I start to format, I have extra space for that. But then if this is what I'm going to live with, then then I have to make sure that I have all my columns and my rows now are actually going to stay this size. No one column and or row can be a different size than the other columns and rows. All right, the next step number 6. You want to take the time next to change all the borders to whatever color you want. Um, a, a solid border line is best, but you can do some of the dots. That long dash one is probably not the best one. Change up the border color and size, and do this before you start your path. Okay, so doing this in the steps that you see here in this order will ensure you the best outcome for your project. So I'm going to click the square with the four-headed arrow so that I can select my table. I'm on the table design tab. Again, stay away from border styles. Go to this board lines that you can pick here. A lot of these are really pretty good. Some of them are not very good. I'm going to choose this one right here. And you'll find that as you start to work through the borders. And again, pause the video when you want, go back and redo it. I'm going to pick a style of about 3 points. Doubt you're going to want to go 6 on this, maybe 2 and a fourth, 3. Because when you do this, you watch what happens. Your table will start to get bigger. The margins on the right and the bottom will start to get taken up. And then pick whatever color goes along with the theme of your maze. I'm going to pick this dark orange, and then you just come to the border button and you say all. And see how my table got bigger going down? Maybe not so much going to the right. That's okay. We can fix that later. But I'm going to see if I kind of like that. Yeah, I think that looks like a good place for me to be. And then don't forget, you need to save your project every once in a while so that you don't end up having a problem later on if there's something that should go wrong. Step number 7. You're going to create the maze or the path that people take by turning off or removing borders of your cells. Use the border button, or some people like to use the eraser. Definitely do not merge cells. That doesn't do what we want it to do the right way. You need a beginning location and an ending location. And then as you create your maze, you need 5 or more dead ends. So if I'm here and I want my maze to start right here in this cell, okay, I put my cursor in that cell. I come to the table design tab. And if you like that little eraser, you can use that to swipe. I like to just go up here to the border button. And so based on where my cursor is at, I have a top border there. I no longer want that top border. So I'm just going to click on the words top border, and it'll turn that orange part of the border that I have designed off. It leaves behind, I'll try to zoom in here for you to see that. It leaves behind kind of a gray line. That's actually not a printed line. And so it's a non-printing line. It's just a guide to actually show you where a line would be if you were to put it on. And then what I do is I just continue to create my maze. Maybe from here, where my cell is, I don't want this bottom border. So then I come over here and I say, turn the bottom border off. So now I have this going on. Maybe I'm going to come to this cell and I'm going to say, I don't want the bottom border and I don't want the top border. So I just continue to turn them off. And when I want to turn, then I'm going to come down here to this cell. Maybe I want to turn left. That means from where my cursor is at, I want to turn off the border to the left. So then I come back here and I turn off the left border. And then from this cell, maybe I want to turn off the left border again. And so then I come up here and I turn the left border off. Then I'm going to just watch carefully. I'm going to turn off from where I'm at right here. I'm going to take off the bottom border. And you might be going, but wait, why do you want to do that? Because if I continue to go down and turn off tops and bottoms of borders, then I've now created a dead end. Somebody's going to start here. They're going to come here and go, oops, can't go out. So got to come back and go this way. So again, you have to create dead end space, okay? Um, you also have to make sure when you create this maze that you knock out part of the border where you start and where you end. Don't leave that a line there. And then again, you can just kind of look at this to kind of see what it's actually going to look like. Um, you need to make sure that you label your start and ending point. And there's actually a couple of ways that you can do this, and you can do this now or you can do it later. But while I'm here, I'm going to visit with you about it. One way to actually do it is to like insert a text box. Um, next to the location and then like write start or begin, and then you format that. Like I want to bold on that. And you can mess with the font size and stuff like that. But when you click on it, it looks kind of weird when it has that box on it. So you might actually want to have that box selected, come up here to shape format and say no outline on it. Or if you want to format it in a different way, you actually could do that. And then you have to do the same thing with the end point. So make a start, make an end. The other thing you could do with that is you could put a clip art there. Look, go find a clip art that says start and insert the clip art and make it smaller. And you could do that for your start and your end as well. Now, so I just went through step number 8 about the start and the end point. Step number 9, you're going to need to include 5 or more clip art pictures. Make sure you use the correct usage, right? That Creative Commons one. When placing the clip art in the maze, you will need to change the wrap style to in front of text. Size, maybe about 2 inches. That's a little iffy depending on where you're placing it. And the pictures must be in the maze, not outside of the table maze in the margins. Okay. So if I look back here at this example, like I said, not all of these examples are good. While they have their 4 or more clip art here, they did put some pictures up here. We're not doing that. So that would be kind of a no-no. We want them all inside the maze. The other thing is this one is very lopsided. Actually, you really want to take your pictures and you want to kind of spread them out on your document, and just instead of just kind of putting them in this area right here, having some up here and in the middle and stuff like that. But you can see they did a good job of marking their start and end. So if you want to put a picture in, I have a picture of my faithful little picture I always use of a dog. When I bring it into the document, and you can bring it in however you want. Remember, we've gone through a variety of ways to do that. But when I drop it, you'll notice that because of the size of the dog, it wants to fill up that entire cell. And now you look and you go, gosh, my cells are so little, don't they? And the lines look really weird. That's why it's important to kind of pick the right line. But you have to finish this by doing a wrap text and see it's in that style of inline with text. And if you do in front of text, then the dog will at least float over the top of the maze. And then you need to size it. And you can do that. There's a variety of ways. If you want to come up here, double click it, and come up here and do a height and a width of 2 inches, or if you just want to grab the corner, you can do that. You can leave it proportional. That would be great. Leave that check mark on there. And then you float this above the cells. Now, you can take up as many cells as you want to float this above. So if you want it to kind of look like that, you can do that. And so it's kind of one of those things you might want to wait and do till you have your, well, you should wait and do it until after your maze is actually like you've got that path figured out. And then if you want, you can always go through and you can add borders to your maze, um, if that's what you want to do, so that they kind of stand out and look a little bit different. So under picture format, there should be a place for you to add the borders. And so that is something else that you can do to make your picture stand out a little bit more. So that direction that they have to be 2 inches big isn't necessarily true, but might be a good place to start. I mean, I ended up with just over 1 1/4 inches, but And then spread them out throughout. Remember, they don't go up here outside of the maze. They stay inside the maze. Use them to help you balance out your maze. And then the last thing is to just kind of check over your maze and make any final adjustments that you may need to. Change the zoom maybe so you can see the whole thing. So now I can see here that I still have some extra space. So if I wanted to grab that white handle and pull it down a little bit, I actually could do that if I wanted to, because now I've used up all my space if I want to do that. Otherwise, I don't have to. I can actually then just come up here, click on the square with the four-headed arrow and do a center of my maze, left to right. And then that might be enough of what you actually need to get that maze to look exactly right. Good luck.